time for some ball talk with our baller analyst, Ben Zweiman of DK Nation and host of the Four Seasons podcast for Ball is Life, Ryan Magdziarz. Guys, NBA building blocks time. So who are you building your DFS lineups around tonight in the NBA? Building block at center. Talk to me, Zweiman.
So Wendell Carter Jr. got traded to the Orlando Magic, and they've just been playing him a ton, and he's getting 30-plus minutes, and he's still pretty cheap at 6,000. So I think, if we're looking at mid-range sort of options, he's a great play. He's got at least 40 fantasy points in 3 straight games. The Magic are sort of a little bit more competitive now that they've traded off their entire starting lineup. So, Wendell Carter Jr., mid-range option, decent cash game play too, given the price. And considering, he's got a shot at a double-double. He's not a bad passer, can shoot the ball a little bit. So I like Wendell Carter Jr. All
right. Who's your building block at center, Ryan?
I do like that Wendell Carter Jr. pick. I'm paying up, and I'm going for Cat, 10,700. I just love the matchup tonight. They play Indiana, and Sabonis didn't play last night. He's questionable to play today. Miles Turner got hurt last night. I see Cat having a huge night. But in that same game, if you're not willing to pay up that much for a center, I like Goga because that's ultra value. He's a league minimum of $3,000. And like I mentioned, Sabonis, probably doubtful, and Miles Turner, probably doubtful as well.
All right, now looking at forward, who are you building at here, Ryan?
I'm having a hard time not going with Zion every night. And it's weird. The Pelicans kind of figured out that, okay, maybe we should build our team around this guy that we drafted number 1 overall, and maybe it's not Ingram. So they're kind of like turning a new leaf to go through Zion more offensively. The last 4 games he has 46, 49, 51, and 65 fantasy points. And not to mention they played the Brooklyn Nets, who are league history worst defensively still. And also no Harden, so I think the pace speeds up a little bit. So I like Zion tonight.
All right, Ben, who do you like?
Yeah, I like that Zion play by Ryan. Forward's kind of a barren wasteland. There's just a lot of value, and there's not really a ton of great plays, but I kind of like Michael Porter Jr. The Nuggets have been playing really well, 6 wins in a row. Porter's been a big reason why. I think he's sort of going to go a little bit overlooked. The Spurs game shouldn't be too competitive. I believe Dejounte Murray is expected to be out for the Spurs, or he's questionable. So there's a chance that he may not play. The Nuggets are favored, I think, by around 7 points. So this could be a game where maybe the Nuggets pull away. But if it stays relatively competitive, I think Porter gets at least 32, 35 minutes. He scored at least 20 points in 5 of 6 games. He's still in that really nice price range at 7,100. So really not spending up too much. So again, you can sort of mix and match cash games, tournaments. I think MPJ is a pretty solid play on tonight's slate.
All right, Ben, how about a guard?
Oh, guard. I really like Trae Young, honestly. It's a tough slate. I feel like we need to figure out what's going on with a lot of injuries, but Trae Young's really cheap. 8,800. We're not used to seeing Trae Young priced this low. You also have to consider the Grizzlies could be without Ja Morant tonight. I think we got to wait and see what happens with the 130 injury report. Maybe we'll get an update on him. He sort of left last night with a back injury and then came back and played, but back-to-back. So Morant could end up sitting out. So this could just be a really, really good spot for the Hawks to come out and just destroy the Grizzlies. If that's the case, maybe Trae Young doesn't play as many minutes as we want. But if the Hawks are going to go up by a ton, it's probably because Trae is shooting the lights out. And again, I think he goes a little bit overlooked. He hasn't really played that well over that stretch, and he hasn't really reached the ceiling kind of games. But his usage is still there. It's still Trae Young. So I think he's a pretty good tournament play tonight.
All right, Ryan, where are you going?
So Ben mentioned that Orlando is weirdly competitive now that they're not stuck in the middle of maybe making the 8 seed, maybe being late lottery. They figured out that they're rebuilding. The Wizards play Orlando tonight, and Russell Westbrook plays on those Wizards. So, again, if you want to pay up, $11,100 for Russell Westbrook seems to be pretty nice, and Bradley Beal's still questionable. If he doesn't play, man, this seems like a Russell Westbrook 94-point fantasy night again. Like I said, Washington isn't a good team either. Orlando's not good. So I'm not worried about a blowout factor. But Russell Westbrook's going to take it upon himself to have 20, 20, and 20 again.
All right, Ryan, if you're paying up for Russ, you're going to need some value. So give me a good value play for tonight.
Yes. So I mentioned Goga, and that's kind of a cop-out, league minimum. And if the Pacers bigs are out, that's an easy one. So I have a backup one that I kind of like that's a dark horse. I like Cody Martin for 3,500. There's no Gordon Hayward, no Malik Monk, and obviously no LaMelo Ball still. I don't know if this is going to be a blowout factor either against OKC because OKC is depleted, but they're going to have some minutes at guard and that wing spot, and Cody Martin can play both off the bench. So I like Cody Martin tonight.
All right, Ben, who do you like for value?
So I've got a couple of guards. I'll throw out Tyus Jones just because I would keep an eye on Ja Morant. If Ja Morant ends up sitting, I think Tyus Jones is a really good spot at 3,300 for the Grizzlies. The other one is Facundo Campazzo on the Nuggets. He could get some minutes just because, again, I mentioned the Nuggets game against the Spurs. It could be a blowout just because the Nuggets are playing really well right now. So Campazzo, 3,300. If he gets some garbage minutes, he's point guard, shooting guard eligible. Every time he gets around like 20 minutes or so, he usually returns pretty decent value. He's a good passer. He's made some highlight reel passes in his rookie season. So I think Campazzo isn't a bad, like really deep tournament kind of play.
All right, let's move over to the sportsbook side of things. How about that? What's your favorite spread moneyline bet for tonight, Ben?
I mentioned the Timberwolves on Monday in this show when we went through this segment. I like them again. They're +2. Ryan mentioned the Pacers are dealing with a lot of injuries. Add Miles Turner onto that. So we could see the Pacers without Domantas Sabonis, Malcolm Brogdon, Miles Turner. Those are pretty much their three best players. If that's the case, I like the Timberwolves getting points on the road. They've sort of played – they've been playing better basketball lately. They just got D'Angelo Russell back in the fold. Ryan mentioned Cat. This is a really good matchup for Cat if Miles Turner ends up being out. Sorry. So, yeah, I mean, T-Wolves, they've won two out of their last 4 games. So it feels like if they're playing a weaker Pacers team, they could end up getting the win here. So I'm going to ride the Timberwolves.
Ryan, which of these bets speaks to you?
If I'm sticking with my own narrative of Russell Westbrook going off tonight, I kind of like Wizards -3.5 against that Orlando team. They've won 2 of their last 4, but in their last 2, they've lost. In the last game, they got blown out by the Nuggets. Nuggets are a good team, granted, but the trend is down for Orlando despite being competitive. They lost their last 2 by 10+, and if Russell Westbrook's going to go for 30, 50, and 40, then I have to go Wizards.
All right, Ryan, how about like your favorite overall bet? Could be a total, prop, whatever. Favorite overall bet in the NBA tonight?
Yeah, we mentioned it a lot already in the last 10 minutes, but Cat over 28.5 points. It's just barbecue chicken. If they don't have Turner and they don't have Sabonis and they're going against Goga, who is a good overseas player, but this is the NBA, Cat's going to have a field day tonight.
All right, Ben, favorite overall bet?
I like a couple of point totals. I'll go back to that Timberwolves-Pacers game and say if the Pacers are going to be without all their starters, that under 230.5 points is a pretty good spot. I also kind of like the Hornets Thunder over. It's at 213, really low. The Thunder have given up at least 130 points in 3 straight losses. So I could see the Hornets really going off against the Thunder again tonight. So I like the over in that game and then the under in Timberwolves Pacers.